doing that big abstract landscape, the Scottish one. I might do something else like that sometime. And as I said after it, I'm going to carry on and try doing these flower scenes. Rather nice. Did them many years ago. They're pastels and acrylic inks that were done at Burton Agnes Hall in Yorkshire. I used to spend Julys there as artist in residence for about 5 years. Absolutely beautiful place, loved the gardens there, well recommend a visit there. Mrs Cunliffe Lister set them up many years ago and designed the whole place and did a wonderful job. She's a wonderful lady. She supported me doing the residencies as well. And now her son's taken over, and I hope he's doing as good a job, because he'll have a job to match the effort that she put in, that's for sure, especially in the gardens herself as well. She was a very hands-on lady in the gardens too, it wasn't just the gardener's work. Anyway, that aside, we did these at the time. I was exploring with acrylic inks because watercolour wasn't quite giving me that brightness and vibrancy I wanted, that real pow. And so I used the acrylic inks with water, and then used pastels. At that time it was just the unisons. And with those I used the cheaper, brighter pastels as well to give these really bright pinks and bright greens and things. Well, now I want to try and get the same sort of effects on here. I haven't got my acrylic inks here. I'll be tempted to use some of those now as well on a canvas, which you can do. What I'm going to do though is texture the surface of the canvas first to get this flower texture. Rather than just go straight on there, I'm going to take some filler and some PVA glue and just build up those textural areas with spatula and fork and so on. I'll show myself doing it for you. All we do is add some ordinary interior smooth household white filler with a bit of PVA glue to give it plasticity, and enough water just to make it into a heavy paste, not a dry paste, slightly wet so that it goes on and sticks well. Mould that up, let it dry, and then you can either paint it black till the dark soaks through, or in this case, because I want really bright colours, I'm going to paint it with a white emulsion again, get the whole thing white and prime it well, and then we'll try and work up these really bright colours onto it. I really want to try and get some vibrancy with this. It's a small canvas. I'd like to do maybe a larger one sometime of a similar scene. I've got a few of these that I did at the time. Maybe do a larger one without the texture. And it would be nice to think about coating these with a plastic coating as well, the resin work again. We'll see. I've got some ordinary general purpose PVA glue there, the white glue, and some of this fine household filler. I don't need all that much in it. I'll probably need about that for doing the whole job, but a little bit more. I can always chuck it out. And then add a nice blob of the glue. Again, we don't need over much, just enough to bind it. So about that much should do me nicely. All I've got to do then is add enough water to make it into a lovely paste, and then we'll be there. The general trick is not to make the paste too thick, but just soft enough that it will be manoeuvrable, but not too sloppy. And we want to build up these textures of these flowers, and to do that I've got a painting knife and a fork. These are the tools for doing this job. What I'm going to do is go over the whole thing first with a layer of this. This is my hand for most of it, just to get it to take over the canvas well, and then we can start to build up the textures. So these are fair now, as you can see. I don't want to be too high in texture on this. Put it there out of the way. Get on the edges first so I don't get it slipping over the floor. It's great fun. Now you can buy textures, you can buy various pastes and texture mediums for acrylics. They're not cheap, quite handy to be able to mix them directly with the colours and put them on. I was only watching a film last night. I was watching films about resin because I want to do some resin soon, and I noticed one or two of these fillers being sold and being used for textural work like this. But this is the cheapest way possible, I reckon, and it's so versatile because you can build all of this up and then put your colours on top. So you can build it up with a knife first of all. Right, so we'll just bring that downward like that first. Haven't got my basic layer on, and now I want to start actually building up the flowers and plants where they are. Nice big thistle there that I want to build up. A couple more above it there. With a bit of luck I'll just have enough here to do this job. They come about halfway there. I've not even drawn them out, as you see. I'm going to draw directly with my hands. But of course you could draw out and then work these straight on into the shapes we're drawing with the material itself. So I can use the knife for in just a minute. So I'm going to layer that between my fingers and just pull the filler down so that it's layering between my fingers there. Now that comes just beyond halfway, it's about there. We've got a lovely big blue delphinium coming down here. It's right down into there. If that comes to there, then this one must come up there a bit more. That delphinium comes down into there and then comes across. And then we just got these other textures to do. Blobs and things around here. And it's just going to give you that additional dimension, isn't it, to the picture. Just tips of my fingers there just to get the texturing to stick to my fingertip ends. And bring these leaves and things here that are around. So see if we can find where these flowers are and just indicate them as we would with the brush if we were painting them, really. And it's quite quick and quite simple. Just drawing with your hands again, as we were finger painting the other day. And we could use resin over this later as well. And there's a nice line, there's a textural thistle there. It's got a line going down from it. See if I can reach between my fingers. I want a stem coming down from this. I'll go back round this a minute, but if I use my fingers like that, I can leave a stem behind, look, of filler in between my fingers. It comes right down here. And I can go back around that stem in just a moment and right up to here. Actually it comes quite high up there. Yes, it comes up to here. So almost up to the delphinium there. And out and round there. That's it. Get that stem a little tidier. There we go. Definite stem, and then we can bring the plants out and around it so that it doesn't look quite so silhouetted by a... Just dragging things out. And I'll come in a bit closer in a minute and show you the texturing close up. Don't forget to go around the outside of the canvas before you finish, just to tidy up that edge, because you need to leave about 1/4 of an inch at the edge of the canvas for a frame to go around if we want to frame it later, so we must take away the filler from that edge, otherwise the framer can't do his job. Been told off for that before. Right, now you can see this texturing more closely now, and you see how lovely it is. Now I just want to work the fork into this a bit more. We'll just look at the little lines like these coming down here. The filler's already starting to harden. You usually get about 25 to 30 minutes for this, so you get a bit of time to do it all. So I just want to bring in some of these lines of the stems here. Painting knife in just a moment for that as well. You can use just the side of the fork if you only want single lines, of course. So I want here. And these I want nice big spiky petals coming up out of them, so I'm going to bring the fork in a motion like that, a bit closer in there. in the middle of these lovely thistle heads, these yellow thistle heads here. It's actually knapweed, and I've got a plant of it over in France now, but it's one of my favourite American knapweed. It's a weed over there, but it's a wonderful plant over here, and it grows up. Eventually, once it gets going, it goes beautifully. These beautiful big yellow thistle type flowers really are gorgeous. If you can get hold of any knapweed, yellow knapweed. But it's getting it established. Once it's established, it's lovely. It grows really well. But my stepson managed to destroy my last one, pulling it out by mistake and replanting it. It never did get going again. So there we are. You can see the lovely texturing going on there. We'll go a bit closer into that in just a moment. Beautiful big blue, deep blue delphinium going down here. We can use our various blues, cool and warm blues on to get the vibrancy of that going on. Down through here as well. There's this side of there. We'll zoom down onto it so that you can see the actual texturing there. I've done the delphinium. Going up and through there, you can see it all the way down here. Look, the delphinium. There's that very fine line I did by dragging it between my two fingers like that. A bit closer so you can really see the texture. You can see how I've built all those flowers and leaves up there, and then over here to the thistles. You can see the thistle heads. This thistle head here, for instance, where I've dragged the fork up and through and out, and we up to the thistle heads above here, round, right up there, around here. So we'll let that dry off and then we can prime it. Well, there's the texturing done, dried off now. So I've got to set new paints out, ready for starting the actual thing. I've got my old Stay Wet palettes cleaned out, ready for new paint. Let's see how they look when we've redone them all. Well, there we are, the lovely new set of colours ready to go. So tomorrow morning, it's a bit late this evening, we'll make a start on this painting. Well, it's a cold winter's day out there today, and we're here in the conservatory. It ain't just warm enough. We've got all this texturing done now, it's lovely and dry. Got my paints ready, as you saw just now, and I'm going to start brushing the colour in. So I want a fairly stiff brush for that, although look at what size I'm going to actually need. I guess one of my filberts will do nicely. And we're going to start a bit like a watercolour, working from our lights to our darks. We're not working over a dark surface, so I should be able to get some lovely light colours. I'm going to take my lemon yellow straight away and plonk it on into these thistle heads. These lovely bits of knapweed. It's shining through. Put the dark over and cut it back, but I want to make sure I've got enough on now and well into the surface so that when I do put on my darker colours they don't just go all over it and I've lost everything. Quite quick to do once you've got all this established. And this is the way that Monet used to paint, although slightly differently. He made his textures up quite often. He didn't just build the paint up. I'm not saying he painted in just one way, but I went to the Tate Gallery years ago when they had a show of his paintings on, and I actually noticed when looking closely, because I was able to get right up close to them, noticed that he'd, on many of the paintings, built up just like this with a filler. He used a mixture, some sort of fillers. I'm not quite sure how he did it or what he did, but he built up like this and then put a yellow ochre ground on most of the paintings that I noticed, and over the yellow ochre worked his colours up, scumbling them over the surface, and the yellow ochre just glued through. That's what I've been doing with a lot of my textural ones, but using black or very deep blue or purple, which is a very useful colour for the shadows. Here in this case I'm just going to work pure colour up and work one colour over another, which I think you'll find is quite effective, and hopefully some of you will enjoy it and try it out. Now we can use fillers with the actual paint. We can buy these mediums now which allow you to build up texture with the actual paint, but they're quite expensive, and I find actually that this way of working is possibly even more versatile. It allows you to add other textures to it as well. We can actually add seeds or grain or rice, peas, polystyrene chips. I even use spaghetti and things like that into them. Work up some more of these backwards and forwards later. In other words, I can come over light over dark and dark over light and back the other way around when I want to. Now, I want to mix up some very, very light cream, so white and a little touch of the lemon yellow, because we've got some very, very light areas, almost to white here in places. And we'll probably try and come back with some of these light colours into it when it's dry. And then we're going to go down to an even stronger one, which is a light cadmium orange, which is stronger still. Lovely colours again. I'll get these in here. We're going to have to bring these up over the top again later, but just to get these colours established underneath first of all. The oranges against those yellows. And again on here on these lovely... You see, I'm going to let the light yellow show through now a bit. So just by going over the surface of it. I'll just zoom in on those to show you. And we can drag the stronger orange across this and let those lighter yellows just glow through there underneath. I'm going to go even darker yet. I haven't finished by any means. Don't want any white leaving there. Don't want sparkle. Not using watercolour now, so we don't want that sparkle of white showing through in this case. Right, that's most of our light yellows and yellows, so I might just play with a little more orange yet. Just play around some of these brighter touches of brighter colour here and there. But for the rest of you see, I worked all these reds and oranges and yellows in all over, going from lemon yellow to cadmium yellow down to a light cadmium orange, then through to cadmium red and through to a bright, almost fluorescent orange. Now even these colours have sunk on the white slightly, the reds especially. So that's one of the reasons I didn't go to dark. Now I want to get these turquoises, some lovely light turquoises there. Got a very nice one already mixed here, which is virtually the right colour to start off with. Actually it's a bit darker than I expected. Just put some of it on here, we'll test it out. Got to get in between these yellows now, so I'm painting. Some of the yellows aren't quite dry, so they're going to blend into it a bit. I can afford to start to paint out most of the white now, because unless I want very, very light colours, which might sink over the paint, I'm going to put the colours over the top of one another from now on. I can't stress enough, it's such a lovely way to work, and I do hope you try it out. It uses quite a lot of paint because I'm really working it into these recesses. Normally I've got to mix a colour like this, but in this case I happen to have some ready-made, which is rather useful. Although of course I'm going to use other colours amongst it as I go along. I'm going to gradually make these blues not only warmer towards the ultramarines and the purples, but also much stronger. Start making sure the colours are a little bit cleaner now, and we've managed to keep nice bright colours. So we want to go down now in our blues. I'm going to go down to add some more cerulean into it now. You'll see the difference straight away. It's a slightly warmer blue, but we're going to go much warmer yet. A cacophony of colour, an orchestra with music all of these different high and low notes work against each other in the opposites of the warms and cools, and even opposites in colour circles, more and more and more. So I'm working in my reverse light watercolour. In this case, if I was using oils I could probably do it the other way because they'd be stronger. But at the moment I've got to work lights to darks because I want to keep this lovely vibrancy of these colours. Just drag over the surfaces to pick out these textures as well at the same time. This time of year when I miss summer so much, it's such a deadly time of year this, after Christmas. It's always this time when I need to go away and paint abroad really. I did the right line in France because I bought, well, it's lovely in the summer, but it's still very cold in the winter, so it's not really helping me that much. At times like this, as you see, as we go darker and darker with these, stronger and stronger with these colours, and the effects start to work and one colour brings another out. So I'm going to move on to my ultramarine last. This is everybody's favourite colour surely. That beautiful sky blue. Look, let's start to get it into these delphiniums here. Maybe plonk it on. Put a bit more light back on there later, but at the moment I just want to get the beauty of this rich dark delphinium coming up through here. And it's starting to work as an impressionist painting now, isn't it? We can start to see the textures building. Deep burnt sienna, and we'll warm up some of these and see how all of these different colours are starting to lift all the colours around them. Yes, hopefully this paint has dried enough, but not quite. Anyway, we'll continue. I'm going to use the very light cerulean blue from earlier and mix that with some white and just see if I can get the very light blues that I want for one of those later. Now, earlier on we were talking about the pinks. These lovely bright purples and pinks. I'm going to start with some lovely deeper mid moves going on down here through. Lovely, lovely colour. This is where it's a real pleasure because you can enjoy these lovely bright, strong, vibrant colours, and I can just almost glaze them in here. As I say, one colour will pick out another. The more I do of this, the more it will bring out other colours around it. Now that same colour with white. Let's see what we get. We have to add a little bit of flash pink to this in a minute. We'll just see how it goes. Now I hope you begin to see what I meant about the musical qualities of this. The whole thing is starting to come to life. Alright, I'm going to go back to my very light cream because those whites have disappeared a bit. I've got to go back to my greens as well. I haven't done any greens yet. They will bring things out too. I need to just come back to these almost whites here. And that's the trouble with the acrylics, they tend to sink back a bit. It's not easy to keep these light tones going. The colour as it sinks in some cases, so I've got to try and bring them back a bit. Let's see what we can do with a bit more of this very bright pink and reds to some of these areas. Now let's have a look at the blues again. Seem to be losing our delphiniums a bit just here, and a bit more of these ice blues coming down. I think I've almost got the effect I was after even now. Right, Let's have a look at the greens. Got some very deep greens and turquoises to go in, which we haven't used yet. And we should be almost there. Before I do that, I'm going to take some very, very deep red here. I just want to use into these areas. Just how one touch of colour can make such a difference. Some alizarin crimson here. Very, very deep, very, very rich. Right, back to what I'm saying, the green. And, getting pulled across to other colours, why not? Let's have a look at a very deep orange I've got. I can get this to work here. Because one colour will play against another. If I use a deeper orange, it will make a lighter orange somewhere else appear lighter. You can't always see it directly until you put a colour on, and then sometimes it comes out like that. So it's really just trying to build up some of the lights. Instead of that, now I've got those really strong lights, I'm going to take a bit of black and some of that deep brown from earlier and go for a really dark warm in places, just see if it exists. Got to touch up some of these thistles here. So really now making some very strong warm darks, again, which will play against the lighter colours and make the lighter colours seem even lighter. The beauty of the gardens at Burton Agnes. Years and years later, but this is as much a memory as it is a painting about colour and atmosphere and light and abstraction. So I've gone as dark as I think as I want to go. I'm going to come back and maybe look at some of the... I wonder if I can lay any of those yellows back over there again. Let's just try using pure paint. It's not that thick anyway. Let's just try a little bit of this. It's very gungy, this this yellow. Actually, the light cadmium orange is probably better. We'll just try and see if we can lay back on any of these. White in it as well, I think. As a body colour. Body colour, it acts as a filler. So white, a good quality white, should act as a thickening agent to try and bring some of these yellows back a bit here. Into it and just see if we can get our very, very light creams can come out again a bit, because I've lost them. They keep sinking back. And hopefully when I get the varnish over this, it will really bring these colours out as well again. So finally just back to white then, very light cream, and hopefully we'll call that done. Let it dry, give it a varnish and see how it looks, shall we? And I'll start building up the next one. Put all the lights in as I can get in. Just go back with the darks again. Keep working at this until I'm happy with it. And I do want to get a few feelings of these stalks just coming through here. I think we'll call that done. A bit more blue into that would be nice. Right, well, we'll move on to the next piece now, another impressionist piece. Let's just look at the textures, shall we? So you can see how we built up those textures earlier with the filler, and now we've used that texturing to make the knapweed and the rest of these lovely effects here. Got the delphinium there. I'm just going to add a little bit more blue. I just want to put a bit more There's a light blue back into here. I've just lost a little bit of it, and I just need a bit more of that cool against the. Because it sinks so much, you don't realise you come back and look at it again. You think, oh, where's that colour gone? Well, there we go.